So before I spend money pouring concrete and building sheds, I line up the tenants first. That's how you turn dirt into serious industrial cash flow without gambling. Hi, I'm Andrew Wright, Principal of Professional Southport, and this is the Andrew Wright Property Podcast. I've built a multi-million-dollar property portfolio, delivering a seven-figure annual rental income, and led my real estate team through thousands of sale and lease transactions. In each episode, I share real deals and strategies that will help you find, fund, and operate profitable property deals. The aim of this show is to provide education and build a community of like-minded investors who can collaborate, share insights, and help each other in each other's journeys. You can make excuses or you can make money, but you can't do both. So come and join us.
Hello and welcome back to the Andrew Wright Property Podcast. Now today we're unpacking a live development deal, not theory, a real industrial land acquisition near Toowoomba that Andrew purchased back in April 2025 for $420,000. What we're going to look at is why he chose this particular area called Healdon. Why a truck depot? How planning risk is managed? Why he's pre-leasing before construction, and how a $2 million development could potentially create $1.5 million in equity. Andrew, welcome to the podcast.
Adam, how you going?
I'm very well, mate. I'm very well. But look, before we even start with this deal, I just want, what's happening with your portfolio?
Oh, there's plenty happening. That truck depot up, that three lots up in Townsville, the tenant moved out 31 December, and I've had 2 months of vacancy already.
Ooh, okay.
A couple of nibbles.
Yep.
I'm still waiting on a quote there to upgrade the place with security lighting and electronic gates, and still waiting for the tradesman to give me a quote. So I have got a couple of nibbles there. Maybe someone interested in taking one of the lots, 2,000 square metres. But this is part of running a property portfolio. I've now got those 3 empty blocks of land. I've got another 3 blocks of land that are sitting empty as well, which are development sites, which the portfolio's got to generate enough cash flow to fund holding those assets. So I've just finished restructuring a lot of my finances, so that is going to put myself in a position cash flow wise where I can just move forward with comfort. So what I did is I've just refinanced a couple of loans, 6 of them, and I've just put 800 grand in the bank, revalued my office, and I've drawn out 800 grand just sitting in the bank now, ready to go for this development we're talking about near Toowoomba, building a truck depot. So I'll use that money to fund that. I've rented out an empty office next door to me, which is empty for more than a year. I got 45 grand a year rent coming in from that now, which is great.
Great.
And I've just given myself another $325,000 a year pay rise by changing 6 of my loans from principal and interest to interest only. So I was paying down 325 grand a year just on those particular loans, and now I'm just going interest only to give myself a big pay rise so I can fund all of this property development stuff.
Did you get professional advice on doing this and how to structure this, or is this just knowledge you've built over time that you now know what to do and how to make this structure? Because structure is very important, and what you've just described blows me away.
I didn't get advice on it. My portfolio told me, Andrew, you got multiple property developments here running. You can't fund this. And my portfolio told me I need to go interest only. But see, the thing is, like, if you understand the value of money, like I want to get more debt anyway, because like last week we interviewed John Facer. Like he bought a block of land for 55 grand in 1978, and houses in the street are now selling for $10 million. So as every decade goes by, whatever loans you have is going to be so much easier to pay back. So, I mean, I have a goal, like we're getting right off the topic now, but I want to leave my kids $100 million of debt. Okay, now that sounds, oh wow, that's cruel, Andrew. But if you think about that, if there's a $200 million property portfolio, 50% LVR, $100 million of debt, if every 10 years that property portfolio doubles, when I die, $200 million in one decade will be worth $400 million. After decade 2, the 400 is worth 800. After decade 3, 800 is worth 1.6 billion. And after the fourth decade, that 1.6 will be worth $3.2 billion. Now, do you think my kids are going to be saying, oh, bloody dad left us with $100 million debt? Do you think they're going to be worried about the $100 million of debt if they have a property portfolio worth $3.2 billion? Now, this is, people listening to this now, Andrew, you're a tosser. These numbers you're talking about are... It's maths. It's honest maths.
No, it is. And look, I'll bring it back a level to if someone is out there thinking, Andrew, you're a tosser with these big numbers you're throwing out. Just look at it like this. What if you're just dying, leaving your kids a $2 million home that still owes $1 million on it? It's the same principle, just bringing it right back.
That's exactly right, Adam, and that's a good point. Like, what I want the viewers here to think of is, no, not Andrew, you're a tosser. I want you to, I'm here trying to help people improve their portfolios for their families and friends. So if you can't think in those terms, or you don't have the capacity to think anywhere near those numbers, all I'm encouraging you to do by saying that is to understand the maths, and instead of maybe borrowing $1 million to buy property, set yourself a 10-year goal to borrow $10 million.
Yeah.
Now, I have $10 million of debt now. I don't lose a minute of sleep at night worrying about it. The interest is probably $650,000 a year, but I've got $1.5 million a year now coming in rent. And when I finish these next couple of projects in Toowoomba over the next 18 months, my rent will be over $2 million a year. I don't lose any sleep, and I'm only just getting started.
Yeah. And look, I'm learning so much through doing this podcast with you, and haven't done any property investing, well, very, very little. But the principle you're talking about here, just go back and read Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's about good debt and bad debt, and you're talking good debt.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's just such an exciting time at the moment. The other thing that I'm excited about this week is I've finally bitten the bullet. I've got 4 residential property managers that work in my business. I've just this week employed a full-time commercial property manager, which will start managing our clients' commercial properties and deal with some of my portfolio too. So to free up my time so I can work as a selling agent and also with these property developments. I'm really excited, and I'm a bit scared to talk like this, Adam, because a lot of people, like I said, might think, oh, you're a tosser, you're talking these big numbers. But, I'm talking with a friend of mine every week that I meet, and he and his family have accumulated, I'm very confident, more than $1 billion of property. And I've just listed a $30 million house in Talabudra from another Chinese client who's a billionaire. And these people do have great character, they have integrity, but their biggest quality set, they're not magicians. Things that people in business or investors do once and they repeat 4 or 5 times, these guys just have such a good work ethic that they do it thousands of times. And that's what makes them billionaires. Now, I'll never be one probably, but hopefully my kids will be. And most of us listening to the podcast don't need to have a goal of being a billionaire, but I do think you owe it to your family to be the best kind and the kindest, best that you can be. And your happiness is going to come from growth, not just your relationships, but achievement. So when is enough? Or, when should you stop? Well, never. When my parents stopped, when they gave up their business, they died within a couple of years. So I think part of happiness is growth. And if I can encourage people now to, instead of have a goal of borrowing $1 million, why not set a goal to borrow $10 million in the next 10 years? And don't trust me, verify it with a calculator. Get out a spreadsheet. If I've got a $10 million property portfolio and it goes up 7% next year, work it out. That's $700,000 tax free. And the next year that 10.7% goes up 7%. That's 770 grand a year capital growth tax free if you're not selling, and it'll just compound from there. So even though I'm talking big numbers because I'm hanging around these billionaires, I'm only just getting started. But if you're not at that level, it doesn't matter. Start with your first $1 million and start thinking a little bit bigger.
I absolutely love the way you think, Andrew, and I'm sure our listeners are getting a huge amount out of that. And you've got a mindset for growth. And look, it's something I'd really like to expand on you with in another episode. But look, let's get to the Hilden deal.
Before I say that, I want the listeners to know that I do generally care. Like, I'm not selling courses or mentorship or anything. I'm trying to help people make money, and I've already from this podcast, the first 14 or 15, I've got a couple of close friends of mine, and I'm really pleased that they're actually sending me deals now. Oh, Andrew, what do you think about this? Do you think I should do this? And I'm really happy about that. But the message I want to get across, the philosophy for the day is don't wait to buy property. Buy property and wait. Because of the compounding we've been talking about. Get in and do something. Don't just listen to the podcast.
I love it. I love it. Fantastic. All right, can we get to the deal now?
Yes, we can.
But I could talk about what you talk about all day, but all right. Okay, so Hilden.
I say Helidon. It might be Hilden. I'd call it Helidon, but I'm not a local.
No, actually, you're right. It is Helidon. I've gotten that wrong. Apologies to anyone in Helidon that is listening. I've put the I before the L instead of afterwards. But, mate, where is it?
I looked at it yesterday on the Google thing, and it said it's 14 kilometres west of Gatton and about 18 kilometres east of Toowoomba. So basically halfway between Gatton and Toowoomba.
Okay. And what's in the area?
Nothing. 1,000 people.
Nothing. But it's close to the Warrego Highway?
Yeah, this property is less than 100 metres from the Warrego Highway.
Less than 100 metres. Yep. And why is that important?
The use that I have planned for the site is a truck depot, and when truckers work all day driving their trucks, they don't then need to want to spend an hour going off the highway trying to find a park. This one is 10 seconds off the highway, so it's just a lot more efficient for truckers to park their vehicles really, really close to either a port or a major highway.
Sure, fantastic. So what attracted you to this specific site? And we know that the price is 420 grand.
Yeah. It's sort of, I couldn't afford to buy the multi-million-dollar sites that are in the Yatala area between Gold Coast and Brisbane. I mean, that'd be the ideal stuff, but I just couldn't fund it. So it really was a bottom-up situation. Property spruikers say all the time you want to pick the blue-chip areas and the market will do the heavy lifting for you. Well, that's great if you can afford it, but I couldn't afford to buy a vacant $2 million block of land in Yatala before you start building. So it was really a bottom-up thing. I looked at the price. Just up the road in Withcott, they were selling 1 acre blocks of industrial land for 800 grand. I picked up this site 4 acres for half that price, $420,000, and it's a very, very sort of a comparable area. So it was $27 a square metre or something, 15,800 square metres, and I paid 420 grand. So whatever that is, I think it's 26 or 27 bucks a square metre instead of $1,500 a square metre near the Gold Coast.
Sure. And when you did actually make the purchase, this is almost a year ago now.
Yeah.
Was the truck depot always the plan?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it was. So I bought I think maybe 6 or 7 blocks of dirt last year, which were all industrial, and all my target for all of those properties is truck parking.
Fantastic.
And industrial outdoor storage. Like we've actually just we'll get to this in a moment, but I've just changed the development application to council just before we paid the fees, and we ticked an extra box. So it's not just truck parking, it's also industrial outdoor storage, because I've found with another site in Emerald, I got a nasty letter from the Emerald Council because my tenant started having some shipping containers there for storage, and they actually emailed me saying, Andrew, you're not allowed to have shipping containers there. It's only allowed for truck parking. And I thought, well, isn't it the same thing? No, you've got to tick another box with the council
Right.
or most councils to have shipping containers and storage. It's actually a separate approval to truck parking. So
Amazing the red tape that's
Yeah,
out there, isn't it? Which
that's
you've
it.
always got to be aware
I got some
of.
more red tape to cover on this one as well,
Sure.
which I haven't told you about yet.
Okay. So when buying this particular block, was the plan to develop immediately into the truck parking?
Well, that was the plan, but
Yep.
as I got through the once I'd already bought the site, I started doing my due diligence and rang the council and just to make sure I could build a truck parking depot there. And even though it was zoned industrial, they said no, it's not approved for that. So I mentioned this in another podcast that I asked them, what can you use it for? And they said, well, Andrew, out of this 15,800 square metres, you can use 15 or 20 square metres for a battery storage device, and anything else you need to apply for a material change of use, pay all your fees and get the consultant's advice. So I was blown away because it's actually zoned industry, but you can't use it for industry.
Until you jump through more hoops
That's
to
right.
find. I mean, were you expecting that they've actually now had to refer you on to the state government, haven't
Yeah,
they,
yeah, they
for
have.
these approvals? So you weren't obviously expecting that.
No, I wasn't. I'm not an experienced developer. I'm learning as I go. I'm just I know that there's good margin there. I know it'll work, but I'm learning every step of the way.
Okay, because I want to know, what gives you the confidence that demand exists for this site before building. So we'll work through the hoops you've got to get to be able to build.
Yeah.
But
Well, we talked about that in the episode on truck parking. There's over 1 million heavy vehicles in this country, and there's not 1 million truck parks for them. So the demand, it's just there. It's just numbers. So I'm not really that smart in any area of my life, but I do understand mathematics. And if you got 1 million trucks looking for somewhere to park and there ain't enough trucks, the demand's there. Like, you don't need to read a whole heap of develop reports on truck demand. It's just simple mathematics. In that particular corridor there, what attracted it to me is that they've just built a big airport in Toowoomba. I think it's called Wellcamp or something like that. There's approvals there for $1 billion expansion of a train track from I think it goes from Melbourne through to Toowoomba all the way down to Brisbane. I'm not 100% sure of that, but and the local state government here in Queensland has definitely got plans to expand the Warrego Highway, and that site is right next there. So even if it's not truck parking, there's going to be a lot of trades that have to work. If you're expanding a highway, you can see on the Gold Coast here just the amount of years of work they're building that light rail. If they're going to expand that Warrego Highway from Ipswich to Toowoomba, that's going to be
they've
years.
got to store all sorts of stuff.
They're going to have all
Yep.
their machinery they're going to need to store somewhere, and there ain't too many sites available. So I'm not smart, but I know that they've got to store their stuff somewhere. If it's not trucks, there's going to be a need for some hard stand industrial area there.
Sure. All right. So didn't realise you needed certain approvals. Council's come in and said we're giving this to the state government for you to go and talk to.
Yeah.
What risks did that bring up?
Well, I know this is probably boring, but I just want to read the email I got 2 days ago
go
from the
for it.
town planner, dated 23rd of February. What's today, 27, 26? That's 4 days ago. The State Assessment and Referral Agency, SARA, received your referral agency material for the following premises on 19th of February. The application does not meet the requirements for a properly referred application under Section 54 of the Planning Act 2016. The reasons for the decision are the premises is located within 25 metres of a railway corridor and within 100 metres of a state-controlled road intersection at Lawler Road. The correct fees have not been paid. You need to pay us more money and refer it to this other state government department. Now, the town planner had already spoken to that other department in the state government. They said that we don't need to refer it to them, but this is the red tape. We're not going to approve your thing now. You need to pay us some more money and refer it to this other one. Here's the email from the town planner dated yesterday, Wednesday the 25th. Hi, Andrew. I just wanted to give you an update with the 1 of 90 Lawlers Road application. As you are aware, We referred the application to the state due to the proximity of the railway corridor, because it's less than 25 metres away from the railway. The State Assessment and Referral Agency, SARA, have issued an action notice arguing that we are within 100 metres of an intersection with a state-controlled road, being the Warrego Highway. I went back to SARA outlining that we weren't within 100 metres according to their mapping. So the town planner, when we looked at the council map, said we're just over 100 metres. However, SARA have come back saying the mapping is conceptual, and they have gone out and measured from the edge of the intersection, and we are now magically within 100 metres of the Warrego Highway. This issue with this additional referral is that we would incur an additional referral fee and would allow SARA to assess the impacts to the Warrego Highway. My assumption is that given the proposed use of Transport Depot, SARA will now want a traffic impact assessment report at a minimum to determine the impact of the Warrego Highway. So what that means is I've got to pay more fees. Now I've got to get engineers out there to do a traffic impact assessment report on this Lawless Road, which is a ghost town. No one uses it, but we've got to do a traffic impact assessment report. And that could be another 2 or 3 month delay. So I'm out here talking it up.
That was my next question.
I'm out talking it up, saying March I'm going to get approval for this thing. And now, there's probably
Do you ever get this kind of correspondence, Andrew, and get worried that you're not going to get the approval?
No, look, it's zoned industry. They want it to be used for industry. Look, the biggest risk of something like this is when you get the state government involved, like they could come out and say, oh, Andrew, your proposed water tanks there aren't good enough to allow water to wash the trucks that are parked there. We want you to extend our mains water from 1 kilometre away up here up to the truck depot. Now, if they did something like that, that'd be $1 million cost. That would just kill the project and it would die. But I'm pretty confident that that's not going to happen. So, yes, development is risky. They could come back with unreasonable requirements that would force me to walk away, and that's a 1 in 100 chance. But given that people are not living there and it's just trucks, and a worst-case scenario, the trucks could go and wash their trucks somewhere else, I'm thinking water tanks will be fine. But there's a potential risk that if they, for example, said, oh, you've got to connect our water mains to your property and it's 1 kilometre away because this is a rural area, that would kill the deal, but extremely unlikely.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, so stage 1 of this is you want to put in 7,400 metres of compacted gravel, fencing, heavy duty crossover, electronic gate, lighting, no sheds initially.
Yeah.
Why start with that rather than just building the sheds straight up?
Okay, so I'll just step back one step. So that site is 15,800 square metres, and we're actually putting in, we initially started with 10,500 square metres of hard sand. We've dropped it down to 7.4 because the engineers have come up with these flood mapping reports from the council that suggest in a 1 in 100 year flood, some water might pass on half of that land.
Right.
And it'd be a lot more expensive to build that up so that it's not going to be water affected. So instead of going down that track, we've reduced it down to 7,400, which is just under 2 acres.
Yep. That's
how we come up with the 7.4. Now, what I've done is the budget in very, very simple terms is it's about 900 grand, 800 to 900 grand to do everything we've spoken about, make compacted gravel there, put up the fences, a concrete overpass. You've got to do some landscaping to hide the ugly place, and electronic gate, all that sort of stuff. The sheds, it's 846 square metres of sheds at $1,250 a metre roughly for a shed. That's about $1.1 million extra. So as a part of the process going forward to work out what to do, I've done the application in 2 stages. Stage 1, just the hard stand, and stage 2 is for the shed, so that I don't have to pay the infrastructure charges on the shed, which is probably 100 grand, unless I build the sheds. Now, how do I work out if I'm going to build the sheds? I don't try and be smart and guess. I ask the potential tenants. So I've been advertising this site for 6 months. I've got a couple of leads there that want to rent the place, and I've asked them, do you want a shed? And the answer is no, Andrew. We either can't afford to pay the higher rent of the sheds, or we don't need it.
Don't need it.
And second question is, do you want me to spend over $1 million putting concrete on this ground, or are you happy with bitumen? Or are you happy just with compacted gravel? And the answer to date from those two prospective tenants is we're happy with compacted gravel, which will keep our rental
down.
Keep
your
and you don't have to spend an extra, instead of 500 grand on compacted gravel, probably be 1.3 million to concrete. It's 800 grand difference.
And is bitumen in the middle?
Bitumen might be 900. So it goes 500 grand compacted gravel, 900 grand bitumen, 1.3 million concrete. So at the moment, I'm going the Holden Commodore, not the Rolls Royce.
Yep. But
because that's what the tenants
are
told
asking
me they want.
for. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the deal. So I'm going to spend 800 to 900 grand. Now I've just borrowed that money from the bank. I've refinanced elsewhere. I've got the money sitting there, and that's what I'm going to do over the next 6 months after I finally get this approval.
Okay. So this is, again, something I love, how you're so forward thinking, you get things rolling, in a timeline that just works. So you're obviously already getting nibbles at tenants. What sort of terms are you looking for, based on that compacted gravel?
Yeah. So I'm looking for a minimum 3 to 5 year leases, and I'm looking around the $22 a square metre for rent. So on 7,400 square metres, if I build no sheds, about 150 to 160 grand a year income. And if we get 150 net, if you work on a cap rate of 6.5% to 7.5%, there's going to be $1 million of capital growth there straight off the bat. And I've already got tenants ringing me now. They haven't even built the thing that they wanted.
Yeah.
So it's going to work.
Are these trucking companies?
One of them is an excavating company that has been leasing at Gatton, and they're being kicked out shortly because the owner has a different use for that site. And the other one is actually in the Brisbane Gold Coast corridor there. It's like a mobile home and building equipment leasing company. So they need somewhere to store all these tiny homes and all their leasing equipment. So it's funny, isn't it? I'm building a truck depot, but because I've ticked, and this is what's made me tick these other boxes, is a truck parking tenant might not be the best one. It might be someone else who just needs industrial outdoor storage.
Okay, but in going through and getting your approvals, you're making sure that you're ticking the boxes for those types of
Yeah, so I had to pay the
uses
town
as well.
planner an extra $1,500 to amend the application to include the industrial outdoor storage, because I didn't want to have it approved just for truck parking and then have this same problem like I had in Emerald, where the council says, Andrew, you're not allowed to store these big shipping containers there. You're only approved for a truck depot. For the sake of paying a couple of $1,000 extra, having it approved properly with the council for outdoor storage and not just truck depots, it widens the tenancy mix and hopefully increases the value of the site because it's a more flexible use that's allowed on the site.
Yep. Well, I want you've thrown out a few numbers now, and I think what this is actually looking like, there's a potential $1.5 million increase in equity.
It'd be about $1 million if I just do the hard stand. If I get a tenant that then says build the sheds, there might be another $500,000 uplift by spending $1.1 million on the sheds. But I don't really want to. I'd rather do the first bit. I can have $1 million uplift by spending $800,000 or $900,000. That's a much better return than maybe an extra $500,000 going through all the hassle of building two sheds, which will take a lot of time and extra finance. So I'm hoping I just actually do the first bit, $1 million uplift by spending $800,000 or $900,000. Refinance me mate, because my mate lent me on that one. Go to the bank, and then I get the cheaper 6% interest on it. And just coming back to the timing, we haven't talked about it, but the timing is important because I went up to Hervey Bay a couple of weeks ago to talk to that gentleman who I bought those 4 sheds from, and we're going to do a deal where I buy an extra couple of sheds from him. But if I spend my money buying those sheds, I don't have any money to build this truck depot. So I've said to him, look, are you in a hurry? Can you wait 6 months or so to sign a contract because I actually need the money to build something else. He said, yeah, no worries, I'm happy to wait. So instead of me going and buying those 2 sheds in Hervey Bay with that money, you've got to have a look at, well, if I'm doing this in my portfolio, how do I set myself up for the next property? So instead of buying those sheds first, which wouldn't have any uplift because they're just passive ones, I'm putting the money first into this development to get the immediate uplift. Then I'll borrow against that, and in 6 months' time, I'll drive back to Hervey Bay and buy those extra couple of sheds.
Makes sense.
That's the mindset. Yeah.
Makes sense for sure. All right, let's talk the time frame then. That the next, I think, probably 9 to 12 months. So when do you expect to get planning approval?
My hope is that my town planner will negotiate in the next week that SARA do not need me to refer this to them, and then the state government will just say, yep, we're right to go. You can just go ahead, and then I'll get the approval next month, and then over the next 6 months, I just go and build this thing.
Okay, the civil works get started.
Yeah, that's right. So that's my hope. But as we discussed in another podcast, I have another site in Hellerton which I'm getting approval for 15 units on.
Yep.
I've owned that for 2 years.
Yep. And
the town planner thought it'd be a 3-month process because we are dealing with the state. They're wanting to buy some of that land off me to expand the Warrego Highway. And as soon as you get the state involved, well, guess what? You're talking 2 years minimum.
Your timeline blows out.
So I'm hoping that we don't have to go down that track with this.
So probably another really good takeaway for our listeners too, that always build into your risk profile on any deal the amount of time that could extend right out with approvals.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And be aware
Good
of
advice,
them.
Adam.
Yep. See, I'm learning a few things here, aren't I?
That's fantastic.
Okay. All right. Would there be anything that could happen that would accelerate you into wanting to go to stage 2 with concrete and sheds?
Only one thing. That the tenant says, Andrew, I need a shed.
Demand.
If you've got a good tenant and a tenant, wants a shed, then I'll build it for them. And like Bega Dairy, for example, up in Hervey Bay, they've said that, Andrew, you're going to lose us if you don't give us more cold storage. I'm going to do everything I can to build some more cold storage for them because I don't want to lose a great tenant.
Yep.
And next month when Navaska, the people who service cold storage facilities go up there, the guy's going to have a look around the site and the little bit of spare land I've got there, and he's going to do a quote for me to build some extra cold storage for them. Of course I'm going to do it because my tenant demands it.
What's the biggest risk with this deal?
As I mentioned before, if the state government for some reason said that, oh, Andrew, if there was a fire at these sheds down the track, the firefighting department, the state firefighting brigade, they wouldn't have enough water in their fire brigade to put out these fires. You need to connect the public water mains to this site. That's probably about it.
So what plan B if that was to happen?
We're talking 1 in 100 chance here.
I know.
I don't know. I'd go back to the council and say, look, you've zoned this for industrial use. Surely, okay, we're not going to build the sheds. There's not going to be a fire risk because all I'm going to have is compacted gravel. There will be no sheds, so approve it.
Andrew, having done this whole series with you, I have absolutely no doubt you would find a way around it if that happens. So, fantastic. Look, now if
you're scaring me now. Stop asking me all these.
It's my job to make you nervous, all right? But look, if someone, is listening and what I've loved about this series is that, I think most, the lay investor out there is always thinking residential. It's just the easiest. It's what they know most about. But you've gone into regional industrial property. So what mindset shift does anyone out there need to make to move to that rather than residential?
Yeah, look, it is a mindset shift. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm only in these industrial areas because the ones around the Gold Coast are providing a 5% net return because they're so damn expensive. And when you're borrowing money at 6%, the numbers just don't work. So I'm forced to go regional because the Gold Coast is just too damn expensive. But as far as the mindset goes of investors, resi versus commercial, like you've got to come back to my podcast 1 where I said that most commercial property is probably providing, say, 6% net returns. And houses, after you pay your rates and your insurances and maintenance and property management fees, they're probably providing 2% return. So commercials property is going to produce 3 times higher returns. So in theory, I mean, even right now I've got I might be 45 different tenants paying me rent right now every week, 45. In theory, I could have half of those properties empty, but because they're providing 3 times higher returns, I'd be still getting better cash flow than someone with 45 houses.
Yep.
And that's where it allows you to not be so concerned about a 1-year vacancy with an empty block of land or something like that, because the other ones are making up the cash flow. That's the mindset shift. Now, if you're just buying your first property, it's probably a good reason why you wouldn't just buy a commercial property first off, because if you have that 1-year vacancy up front, you're going to be shot forever. But if you can build a resi portfolio of maybe 4 or 5 and then take a punt on commercial, you're going to be okay. Because if you've got 10, 20, 30, 40 commercial properties and half of them went empty, which wouldn't happen, you'd still be better off than the resi guy with 100% occupancy.
It's great advice. And look, I want to take this opportunity to say to our listeners, or if you're watching on YouTube, Andrew is doing this podcast because he does genuinely want to share his knowledge, his expertise at this different look at investing in property rather than your standard, residential investment. So please do reach out. He's happy to talk to anybody. The email is andrew@andrewwrightproperty.com.au. Please do sign up on the website. There's going to be newsletters and all sorts of things coming through that. But this is for you. And, if you're looking at a deal and you want Andrew to have a quick look over it, anything like that, please do reach out. He's here to help. This is what he wants to do. It is his passion. It's why we do this podcast.
Can I just expand on that, Adam? Because,
sure.
A mate of mine I had lunch with, he's a property developer the other day. Andrew, why are you spending all the time doing these podcasts? You're not selling any courses. You're not selling mentor. What are you're paying this guy, Adam, to produce these podcasts. What are you spending all this time for? And I said, well, first of all, I'm passionate about property and I just want to help educate people. But secondly, I want people to see what I'm doing and come to me with joint ventures and go into deals with me. Thirdly, this guy's one of my private money lenders. If I can't find someone who wants to do a deal with me, they might trust what I'm doing and might want to lend me some money to buy further projects, and I'll pay them a higher interest and money in the bank.
Yep.
And that's what I'm here for. I'm not here trying to sell something. I'm trying to build relationships where we can help each other.
Yep. And you've made that crystal clear. And we know from our chats outside of this that it's already starting to happen. Yeah. So we implore you, reach out, talk to Andrew. That's what this podcast exists for. We're not selling courses, as you said.
Not yet anyway. But, I mean, down the track, if people demand it, that might change. But honestly, that's not my intention.
Absolutely. So, look, I mean, this kind of episode and deal, is for serious investors and things you need to understand. Stage development, industrial positioning, pre-leasing strategy, and looking at all the numbers. So look, if you have enjoyed this episode, please share it. Hit the follow button so you don't miss any episodes. Reach out to Andrew. Now, in the next episode, we're going to unpack another live strategy and break down the numbers behind it, and I'm really looking forward to that one as well. Andrew, thanks so much for joining me, mate. I'm really enjoying this.
Thanks, Adam. And let me say to the viewers, we sorted out this podcast last night. We had a guest that was supposed to come in today. Yesterday, he cancelled and postponed because something came up. So we only thought about this podcast last night. I put it together. So
it's been a good one.
Because when you say you're going to do something every week and produce a podcast, Adam told me yesterday, he said, Andrew, you need to come in because you say you're going to do it, you have to do it. And that's why we're here.
We're here. Thanks so much. See you in the next one.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks for listening to the Andrew Wright Property Podcast. This is all about building a community of like-minded investors who can share real-life stories, experiences, and collaborate with a view to helping each other. Join us. Get in touch through the link in the show notes. I look forward to you joining me on the next episode.